In this video, I'd like to show Illuminated Cloud support for IntelliJ IDEA's Live Template feature. If you're not familiar with Live Templates, they're a major time saver by automatically generating boilerplate or idiomatic code, the types of things that basically we type all the time, but that take time to type if you have to type the entire thing out, even with things like code completion. What I'd like to do is just walk through the live templates I'm going to be including in the first version of the feature support in Illuminated Cloud. This will evolve over time, likely based on feedback from users about things that I've missed here that would also be useful. So system debug, everybody types this frequently just to get runtime information. So just SD and then you hit tab, put you right in the parens, and you're good to go. Collection creation. I've had completion capabilities in the past that have made this quite a bit easier than it would have been otherwise, things like automatic type parameter population, things like that. But I think you'll see that this is even more convenient. So if I want to create a new list, just NL tab, and then I can say I want this to be a list of, say, expense objects. It automatically prompts me for a variable name, and then that's it. Similar with sets, we'll create a set of dates and maps, and here we'll go ahead and create, say, ID keyed contacts, and we'll just call it the ID to contact map. So nice things like that. String is something we type very often, so just a quick way to do strings. Throwing an exception. Just tab, it prompts you, we'll say we'll throw an illegal state exception, and it puts me in parens in case I've got parameters I need to provide. Now let's move over into some Salesforce specific things. We write SQL queries all the time, so hopefully these are going to be major time savers on a daily basis as you write queries. So first, this will just create a static query in Apex, but you already need to have a usage of it, say assignment to a variable or something like that. We'll look at other convenience variations on this below. So let's just say we want to get a list of opportunities, and I'm just going to type SQ and hit tab, and it automatically knows that it's an opportunity. I can go and say get the expected revenue, and I could keep adding fields there if I wanted. So that was a query. If I didn't want to have to do the left-hand side of that expression, and I wanted it to automatically populate the variable for me, SQV, SQL query assigned to a list variable in this case. And we'll go and get all of the accounts, and we'll go ahead and get the names from the accounts. And if you want to do the query, the SQL query variant that actually allows you to query to a single object, you can do that safely. If you just use a left-hand side of, say, a contact, and there's not exactly one row returned by your query, you'll actually get an exception thrown at runtime, either because of 0 rows or because of too many rows, and it can't be assigned to the variable. So this live template allows you to safely do that, where you can have error handling under your own control without actually having to put it into like a try-catch block. So we'll go ahead and query, say, contacts, and it'll put it into a list, and then it will check that list for a size of exactly 1. And if the size is 1, notice in the query it's limit 1, it will assign that to contact, otherwise it'll put null into that variable. And so we'll go ahead and get the contact names. So just a very quick way to do a safe single item query. If you want to iterate over results, of course you can iterate over them in a for loop. And so we'll just do SQIT, so simple iteration. This is if your result set's small enough that you're not going to worry about batching. And we'll here go ahead and do, say, opportunities again, and we'll go ahead and get the expected revenue again. I'm not very creative tonight. And however, if you're going to get a large enough amount of data back that you would need to process it in batches, here's a convenient way to do that, and you'll get the typical nested for loops where the outer loop is actually getting back each batch, and the inner loop is iterating over the actual items in those batches. So let's just go ahead and say get users, and whoops, let's try that again. Let's go ahead and get users, and there's users, and then it goes ahead and puts on the inner loop the single item that I'm going to be iterating over, and we'll get the usernames from the users. So that's how you can do very quick batch iteration. You can also iterate any collection. This to me is one of the things that I've been most looking forward to with live templates, because I use them constantly when I'm programming in other languages, for example Java. So if I just go and type iter, it's going to show me all iterables, effectively all arrays, all lists, sets, and then from maps the keys and the values of those. And so let's say we want to iterate over the values from ID to contact map, and that's it. You can also iterate safely over an array. Technically, arrays and lists are basically interchangeable within Apex, but if you did want to explicitly work with arrays and use array-based indexing, you can go ahead and use iterate, and it'll only show you the variables that are actually arrays, and then it will use indexed assignment to your actual loop variable. You can also reverse iterate that. I won't show that right now because all it's going to do is change the bounds. And similarly, you can iterate just lists if you don't want to include arrays in that. And so, say the accounts. And so that's based on just the list, using a list style syntax for actually fetching individual elements. And again, a reverse version of that. Apex maps don't technically have an entry set like they do in Java. So if you want to iterate over the key value pairs, you basically have to iterate over the keys and then fetch the values. And so this makes a very convenient way to do that. Iterate over map entries, and you just go ahead and pick your map. It iterates over the key set. Your outer loop variable is actually the key, and then it immediately goes and fetches the value for that key, and then the keys and values are available to you. If you need to get the last entry of an array, you can go ahead and use LST. It'll show you the arrays that are available to you, and you can go ahead and get the last element. We'll go ahead and terminate that. If you want to create a standard for loop with standard integer-based bounds, I want to loop from 0 up to 100. There we go. 100 loops of that. If you want to do null or not null checks, if null, it'll actually show you the variables that are available to you. So let's say that is my string null, or is it not null? If you need to do an instance check, and I'm going to go ahead and uncomment this so I can show polymorphic behavior here, and we'll go and say, is sobj an instance of, say, contact? And it will go ahead and give me a type safe cast to contact, so I can begin working at it through the contact interface. And similar, if I needed to instantiate something lazily, the lazy template allows me to do that. And for the sake of this example, let's just go ahead and use sobj again, because again, we'll show polymorphic behavior. That's an object, but I can go ahead and instantiate it. I'm automatically prompted to instantiate it through any of the derived classes as well. So again, we'll just go ahead and say my expense object. Surround with behavior. This isn't quite the same as what I've shown, so let's just go ahead and say that we have some code here. In fact, we'll go ahead and say, and let's say that we want to surround this. Say it could throw an exception. We'll go ahead and surround it with try catch, and now we could potentially say what exception it can catch. Let's say illegal argument exception, and now we're ready to handle that. Similarly, backing up, if we wanted to surround that with, say, a run as user, a Salesforce specific concept used in testing, we could do that. And we don't have any users right now, so let's back up and actually do this. Let's do the one variant of SOQL query assigned, and we'll go ahead and get users, and we'll go ahead and assign that to a single user if available, and we'll say we just want username, and we'll surround this with run as, and there's our user. Typically, we would have constructed that user carefully locally. Additionally, when you're setting up your member variables and class variables, here's some conveniences. Public static final, we type it all the time for constants. So then we can say like date today equals date.today. Not very useful, but gives you an idea of it. There are also some variants on it for string and integer, given how prevalent those are. So public static final string name equals Illuminated Cloud, and public static final integer version equals 1. And then additionally, for Apex properties, there are live templates for creation of read-write properties and read-only properties. So let's just say that we have a public string read-write prop, and I can just say PRW, and it'll automatically generate the get and set, simple get and set for us. And then if I have one that's a read-only property, then I can say read-only, and it'll give me a private setter. So I'm hoping this will save people a tremendous amount of time. If you're curious about how these work, you can go into settings and you can take a look under Editor, Live Templates, and then under Apex. You'll see the ones that ship out of the box. You can also create your own. Take a look at what we have here, and then also the documentation that JetBrains has on how to construct these things to understand how to create your own. There are macros that I've created to help facilitate this that automatically go and make available to the live template things like the variable names that are in scope, the accessible types, the types of variables, the polymorphic types of variables. I haven't done everything that you can do at this point, for example, everything that's in Java as far as the macros, but if you just go in and do edit variables and take a look under expression, all the ones that start with Apex are available. I will be documenting these well in the near future so that we can get a community contribution going with these live templates, because I think these are the types of things that are going to really save people time. Okay, I hope you're going to find this useful. I hope you will find it to be a tremendous time saver. Thank you very much for your time.